Hello and welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoy this story. I'm going to try and upload a new story each day. The Sinister Stowaway. Holly Arnold's heart pounded as she crept through the moonlit streets of Cowes, the largest town on the Isle of Wight. The chill of the sea air bit through her thin coat, but she barely noticed. Tonight was her last chance to escape. For years, she had dreamed of leaving the island behind, of starting anew in a place where no one knew her past. The merchant ship anchored in the harbour was her ticket to freedom. She reached the docks, her breath clouding in the cold air. The ship loomed ahead, its name, *, the seafaring maiden *, barely visible in the dim light. Holly glanced around, ensuring she was alone, then hurried up the gangplank. She knew the ship would set sail at dawn, and she had to find a hiding spot before the crew discovered her. Holly found a small, dark corner in the cargo hold behind crates of provisions. She curled up, pulling her coat tightly around her, and tried to calm her racing thoughts. As the hours passed, exhaustion overcame her, and she fell into a fitful sleep. She awoke to the sound of voices and the creaking of the ship as it set sail. The crew was busy with their tasks, and Holly remained hidden, afraid to move. Days passed in a blur of hunger and fear. She rationed the small amount of food she had brought with her, but it quickly ran out. On the fourth day, her luck ran out. A sailor named Jack stumbled upon her hiding spot while searching for a misplaced crate. His eyes widened in surprise, then narrowed with suspicion. "Who are you?" he demanded, pulling her out from behind the crates. Holly's voice trembled as she explained her situation. She expected anger, maybe even violence, but Jack seemed more curious than hostile. "We'll take you to the captain," he said, his grip firm but not unkind. "He'll decide what to do with you." Captain Morris was a grizzled, withered man with piercing blue eyes. He listened to Holly's story in silence, his expression unreadable. When she finished, he sighed and rubbed his temples. "We can't just throw you overboard," he said finally. "But you can't stay hidden in the cargo hold either. You'll have to earn your keep until we reach the mainland." Holly nodded, relief washing over her. She was given simple tasks to perform, helping in the galley and scrubbing the decks. The crew was wary of her at first, but they gradually warmed to her presence. For the first time in a long while, Holly felt a glimmer of hope. But that hope was short-lived. Strange things began happening on the ship. At first, it was just small, inexplicable events, tools going missing, strange noises at night, shadows that seemed to move on their own. The crew grew uneasy, and whispers of superstition spread like wildfire. Then, one night, the first death occurred. A sailor named Tom was found dead in his bunk, his face twisted in a rictus of terror. There were no signs of injury, no explanation for his death. Panic gripped the crew, and accusations flew. Holly, as the outsider, was an easy target. It started when she came aboard. One sailor spat. "She's a witch, bringing bad luck to us all." Captain Morris silenced them with a glare. "Enough," he barked. "We'll get to the bottom of this," but turning on each other won't solve anything. Despite his words, suspicion festered. Holly could feel the crew's eyes on her, their mistrust palpable. She retreated to her bunk each night, plagued by nightmares and a growing sense of dread. One stormy evening, as lightning cracked across the sky, the ship was tossed like a toy in the furious waves. Holly was helping to secure the cargo when she heard a scream. She turned to see Jack, his face pale, pointing towards the bow of the ship. "There," she shouted. "Something's out there." Holly squinted through the rain and saw it, a dark, hulking figure clinging to the ship's prow. It was grotesque, with twisted limbs and glowing red eyes. The creature let out a guttural roar, and Holly felt a cold shiver of pure terror. The crew rallied, brandishing weapons and shouting in defiance, but the creature moved with unnatural speed. It lashed out, striking down sailors with a swipe of its clawed hand. Holly stumbled back, her mind reeling. This was no ordinary stowaway, it was a malevolent entity, a demon that had boarded the ship with her. Realization struck her like a lightning bolt. The deaths, the strange occurrences, it was all connected to the creature. It was hunting them, one by one, claiming their souls. The crew fought valiantly, but they were no match for the demon. Holly watched in horror as Captain Morris was lifted into the air and torn apart, his blood spraying across the deck. The remaining sailors scattered, but there was nowhere to hide. Desperation fueled Holly's actions. She remembered the stories her grandmother had told her, tales of old magic and protective charms. She raced to the galley, rummaging through drawers and cabinets until she found what she was looking for, a small silver crucifix. It wasn't much, but it was all she had. Clutching the crucifix, Holly confronted the demon. It turned towards her, its eyes blazing with unholy fire. She felt a wave of nausea and fear, but she stood her ground. "Leave us," she shouted, her voice trembling. "In the name of God, leave us." The demon hesitated, its expression twisting into a snarl. It lunged at her, but Holly thrust the crucifix forward. The demon recoiled, shrieking in agony as the silver touched its flesh. Smoke rose from its body, and it staggered back, its form flickering like a candle in the wind. With a final, ear-splitting scream, the demon vanished, leaving behind a thick, acrid smoke. Holly collapsed to her knees, the crucifix slipping from her fingers. The storm had passed, and the sea was calm once more. The survivors gathered on the deck, their faces haggard and eyes haunted. They had lost so many, and the ship was barely seaworthy. But they were alive, and the demon was gone. As dawn broke over the horizon, Holly looked out at the endless expanse of water. She knew the journey ahead would be difficult, but she also knew she had found a strength within herself she never knew existed. The Asterisk seafaring Maiden Asterisk sailed on, carrying its battered crew towards a new day, and Holly silently vowed to honor the lives lost and to never forget the sinister stowaway that had almost claimed them all. The Sinister Stowaway Part 2. The sun's first light revealed the full extent of the chaos on the ship. The decks were slick with blood, and the few remaining sailors worked in grim silence to clean up the aftermath of the demon's rampage. Holly helped where she could, her mind still reeling from the horrors she had witnessed. Jack approached her, his face lined with exhaustion and gratitude. "You saved us," he said simply, his voice raw with emotion. Holly shook her head. "I did what I had to. We all fought." Jack placed a hand on her shoulder. "No, you faced the thing head-on. Without you, we'd all be dead. The remaining days at sea were a test of endurance." The crew, now down to a skeletal handful, worked tirelessly to keep the ship afloat. The spirit of camaraderie that had once existed was replaced by somber determination to survive. One night, as Holly stood on the deck, staring out at the moonlit sea, Jack joined her. They spoke little, finding comfort in each other's presence. The haunting memories of the demons still lingered, and the darkness seemed to hold new, unseen threats. As they approached the mainland, a sense of relief washed over the crew. Land was a promise of safety and normalcy, a stark contrast to the nightmare they had endured. The sight of the coastline brought tears to many eyes, and Holly felt a surge of hope. Docking at a bustling port city, the crew disembarked, eager to leave the cursed ship behind. They were met with curious stares and questions about their ordeal, but Captain Morris's log, miraculously intact, provided the only testament to their harrowing journey. The authorities took their statements, and Holly could see the skepticism in their eyes. Tales of demons and supernatural forces were hard to believe. The survivors went their separate ways, each carrying the weight of their experience. Holly found herself alone once more, but this time she felt different. She had faced a horror beyond comprehension and survived. She had discovered a resilience within herself that she never knew existed. She took up residence in a small coastal town, working in a tavern to make ends meet. The townspeople were kind, but Holly kept her distance, wary of forming close bonds. The memories of the demon haunted her dreams, and she often woke in a cold sweat, clutching the crucifix that had saved her life. Months passed, and the story of the Asterisk seafaring Maiden Asterisk became a local legend. People spoke of the brave young woman who had faced a demon and lived to tell the tale. Holly listened to the tales with a heavy heart, knowing the truth was far more horrifying than any story. One evening, as she was closing up the tavern, a stranger entered. He was tall and gaunt, with eyes that seemed to see straight into her soul. He took a seat at the bar, his gaze never leaving her. Holly approached him cautiously. "What can I get you?" she asked, her voice steady. The stranger smiled, a chilling expression that sent shivers down her spine. "I'm here for you, Holly Arnold," he said softly. Her blood ran cold. Who are you? She demanded, stepping back. The stranger's smile widened. You think you've escaped, but the entity you faced is just one of many. We are Legion, and we will not rest until we have claimed you. Holly felt a surge of fear and anger. Leave me alone, she said, her voice rising. I defeated that demon. I will defeat you too. The stranger stood, his form flickering like a shadow. This is not over, Holly. We will come for you, and there will be no escape. As he vanished into the night, Holly felt a wave of dread. She knew the battle was far from over. The entity had marked her, and it would return. But she also knew she was no longer the frightened girl who had stowed away on a ship. She was a survivor, and she would fight with every ounce of strength she had. In the following days, Holly prepared herself. She sought out old tomes of magic and protection, learning everything she could about the forces she faced. She forged alliances with those who believed her story, people who had encountered the supernatural in their own lives. Together, they formed a small, secretive group dedicated to fighting the malevolent entities that plagued the world. Holly's life became a constant battle, a never-ending fight against the darkness. She traveled from town to town, always one step ahead of the entities that hunted her. Each encounter was a test of her resolve, a reminder of the horrors she had faced and the strength she had gained. Years passed, and Holly became a legend in her own right. The girl who had once fled from her past was now a warrior, a beacon of hope for those who faced the darkness. She knew the fight would never truly end, but she was ready. She had faced the Sinister Stowaway and lived. She would face whatever came next with the same courage and determination. And as she stood on the cliffs of the Isle of Wight, looking out at the sea that had once been her prison, Holly vowed to continue the fight. She was no longer alone, and she was no longer afraid. The entities would come, but she would be ready. She would always be ready. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please don't forget to like, and even better, like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and I hope you have had or have a great day.